And welcome back to Street Switch Photography, today's first live video, and this one is about our ex-MP of Melton Mowbray, Alicia Kearns, or whatever her name is. I can never pronounce her second name. All of a sudden the Melton Times have all of a sudden decided to run the story. They've decided to run the story hot off the press, ready for tomorrow's paper, but I was on it last night, like a tramp on chips. Now, what's been happening is there's been a lot of controversy to do with Keir Starmer and this China thing that's been going on, spies. It's all very cloak and dagger. And basically what's been happening is there's been accusations that the Conservatives written a report and some witness statements, and in one of the witness statements, the first one, there was no mention of any sort of things, certain things that should have been mentioned. I'll get to that in a few minutes, but this is the most important one here. One of these so-called or accused of being a spy, she actually employed them. She actually employed this person who's under scrutiny by the government. Very interesting, very interesting. Now, would this have been when she was actually in control of Melton Borough Council? Would this have been while she was in control of Rutland Council? Who knows? But what I'm going to be doing is taking you over to GB News in a few minutes, because there is quite a good sort of explanation as to everything that's been going on. So what I'll do is I'll go over to YouTube now, typing it in, doing all this live as we go. Booyah. GB News, and there's quite a good explanation on this as to what exactly what happened. Let me just come down a bit. La 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 la. Keir Starmer to resign following Chinese spy case. We'll probably need to go to GB News and then videos. That will be easier. Let's go to videos. Now, the reason I'm doing this live is because, like I say, I did watch a thing earlier. That isn't it. Let me go back up a little bit. Is this it? No, that's not it. That's not it. It's here somewhere. Here it is. Well, watch this.
This car finance refund check can tell you if you could be owed £700 for each of your missold car finance deals. It takes just...
But this is the breaking line tonight, because in the past few minutes, the government has published key witness statements from Deputy National Security Advisor Matt Collins. These are the ones that he made as part of the...
Now, no one's mentioned Alicia in any of the news outlets or anything until I did yesterday, and then all of a sudden, I think Melton Times may have run a story on it at the time, back in 2023, 2022, but I ran a story last night of some screenshots and everything that we'd put together, me and a colleague put together, and I stuck it on YouTube. I don't know how many people actually noticed it, but it was a short.
The collapsed China spy case. Collins says that Chinese intelligence services were highly capable and conduct large-scale espionage operations, like the one that's on the front of several national newspapers, hacking into government secrets. But he went on to say that the government is committed to pursuing a positive relationship with Beijing. And the Conservatives have hit out, saying this statement falls short of everything that was ultimately requested. They want the full China files. I'm just going to remind you, before I go to an expert guest on this, of what was said at PMQs today by our Prime Minister.
On Monday, the Security Minister repeatedly told the House that ministers did not take decisions, that it was the Deputy National Security Advisor who had full freedom. Is the government seriously saying that only one man, the Deputy National Security Advisor, had anything to do with this failure? Is he seriously saying that the Deputy did not discuss with the National Security Advisor, did not discuss with the Home Secretary or with anyone in Downing Street? Is the Prime Minister seriously saying that?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I am joined.
Yes. Straight away. Now, today he released these witness statements and everything else that was actually sent out, and it actually totally contradicts everything that he said in Parliament yesterday. He's lying. Keir Starmer is lying, and I think this could be the end of Starmer. And I'm not just saying that. I know you hear it all the time. But after he had a go at Boris Johnson during COVID and everything else, saying if you found to have been lying, you'll have to resign, the honourable thing to do is to resign, he will have no choice. Otherwise, he'll just get pushed out. Now, what I think personally, what I would like to see happen is a general election call. People might say that's too early, but I think Reform are ready to take on the country, and let's see what they do. Whether they do any better than Labour, whether they do any better than the Tories, who knows? Because they more or less are Tories now, aren't they? They're both, you know, two cheeks of the same arse. But, you know, things are going very strangely in the Houses of Parliament at the moment. China spies and things like that. Who'd have thought it? Now, I don't know why anybody isn't mentioning this Alicia, because apparently she thought that her room in China, when she took a visit, I think it was to Beijing or somewhere like that, funded by whoever, that'd be interesting to see who that was funded by, but apparently her room was bugged. You can go and take a look at the short. All the information is in the short on my channel.
Now, by the Executive Director of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China. It's Luke de Pulford. Luke, thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. Can I just ask you, just to explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old child?
Now, he explains this very well, which is why I wanted to show you it. So I'm not going to talk during this sort of interaction between these two guys. Let's get on with it.
Okay. What the significance of what we heard in Parliament today was, and what the significance of the witness statements that we have just had revealed to us are, please.
Okay, so the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, said very clearly, are you blaming the Deputy National Security Advisor? Are you saying that the evidence that was provided to the Crown Prosecution Service in this case all depended on him, and that he acted with no political interference whatsoever? He didn't speak to anybody about the evidence he was including. And the Prime Minister said yes. And when he said yes, everybody's eyebrows were raised at that point, because that would be very odd to have the Deputy National Security Advisor not speak to his boss, not speak to the Home Office or anyone else. So everybody was thinking, well, that's very strange. Then these files were published, and this is the key, and this is what I think many people will miss. The first statement that Matt Collins produced under the Conservative government included no paragraph about the government's current policy. The second statement, which was under the Labour government in February 2025, said, and it began with, it is important for me to emphasise, however, that the UK government is committed to pursuing a positive relationship with China. The third statement also includes that paragraph, but then finishes it with a statement of what was in the Labour Party manifesto. The reason that this is so important is that the government has been saying for the past couple of weeks that this was all about the previous government's policy. It had nothing to do with current Labour policy. And if that's the case, there would be no reason for these things to be included, because they were irrelevant, in the Prime Minister's own words.
And the fact that these were included, so in the witness statements that were provided, was it to the Director of Public Prosecutions, is that right? Yeah,
that's correct.
So to those statements, they included the new Labour Party line about China, which is that basically we want to get along with them for money, and then also a quote from the Labour Party manifesto.
So what he's basically saying is, in the first sort of, let's just say, the first letter that was mentioned, this was the Conservatives. There was nothing in there about sort of needing to keep these certain sorts of relationships with China and everything else. In the second letter, it said we've got to keep, so it's basically saying, to try and put it in layman's terms, we've got to keep China on side. And then this is under Labour. And then in the third statement, they said we've got to keep China on side, and they also included a paragraph from the Labour manifesto. Now, I don't understand why nobody is mentioning this lady here, our ex-MP. She employed one of these gentlemen that's being accused of basically being a spy for China, quite literally. So what do we do? What can we say about this? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and click onto the Melton Times website here. We'll have to accept this. It's usually got loads of adverts here. And we know that the Melton Times are in bed with Melton Borough Council as well. So I'm quite surprised they even ran this story. Maybe that was why they were shying away from it in the first place. I do not know. But there you go. Big, all power to them for actually running it after I ran it. Melton MP. Melton's former MP previously employed one of the men accused of spying for China. And she is angry that the case collapsed before trial. Now, there could be two things going on here. She either knew about it or she hadn't got a sodding clue, but she was employing him. But she did take a visit to Beijing. So how was that funded? That would be my first question. How was your visit to Beijing actually? I think it was Beijing. How was it actually funded? I know it was somewhere in China. Mr. Cash, who had access to several high-profile Tory MPs, Christopher Barry, were subsequently charged. Oh, they've been charged, okay. The offences under the Official Secrets Act. Now, I know what the Official Secrets Act is because I used to work for I was a civil servant myself at the vet camp, and you have to sign something called an Official Secrets Act, and you stick to that for the rest of the time that you are alive, and that's it. You can't give information away, you can't say certain things, you can't, and that's the way that works. If you sign it, you signed it. End of. And it should be like that. And they go through a very stringent, let's just say, vetting process as well. Officers' secrets in 2024, mainly passing on politically sensitive information to the Chinese intelligence agency. The men have always pretended whatever in last month's case was unexpectedly dropped. Oh, it was... So let me just get rid of these burps that I've got because I've just had a cup of coffee. The men have always protested their innocence. Last month, the case was unexpectedly dropped, just like before it was due to be heard. Just before it was due to be heard. Excuse my reading. So this is the lady who was also involved. She needs to be investigated as well. And because she was in charge of Melton Borough Council, has there been any information leaked from Melton Borough Council? Maybe your information. Now, we know that Melton Borough Council use archaic software and archaic computers down there. You have to put another shovel of coal in every couple of hours to keep them running. And that would be a concern for me personally. What information has been received from all of these councils across the country? And especially where MPs have actually had access to this information about certain individuals and everything else. This is a massive scandal, and there needs to be more clarity on it and more transparency on it. Now, again, I think it could be the end of Keir Starmer, my personal opinion. There has been an ongoing political row about why the case collapsed. The CPS said there was insufficient evidence from the government identifying China as a threat. Now, we already know that China is a massive threat to national security of Great Britain and many other countries. So where they've come up with that, I honestly do not know. Prime Minister Keir Starmer says it was the CPS's decision to pointed out there are Conservatives were in power. Yes, they were in power for the first statement. Sorry, I'm having to read this in my head before I read it out loud because of my dyslexia. Conservatives were in power. Charges were made against the two men, and China was not at the time considered a threat. I'm going to say considered a threat. So Alicia, who is now MP for Rutland and Stanford, said the trial should have gone ahead in the interest of national security. It should have been up to the jury to decide if China was a threat. No, it shouldn't have been up to the jury to see whether China is a threat. They are a threat. There's no question of whether they're a threat or not. That it shouldn't even be a question. And then if we've had these guys that have been working for this woman that were actual spies for China, like as I said before, I don't think people realise just how big this case actually is. And it could be the end not just of Alicia, but the end of Keir Starmer and a lot of MPs. I think there's more to it as well. I think there's a hell of a lot coming out. Posting on her official Facebook page, Alicia said the case is, of course, deeply personal to me, but more importantly, it's deeply important our national security and our confidence in the state will deter and protect us from any state hostile to us. if the government knew that China's spy case was at risk, they had a duty to take action, ensure it made it to trial. She said the Prime Minister's inactions among the I'm lost now. Read this as we go down because I'm struggling to read it. Amounts in addition to his most basic duty defending. It can only be put in my hands of heart to say that he is placed, or as a government minister I would have been moved heaven and earth to get the CPS what they needed. Now, whether you choose to actually believe that is entirely up to you, but yeah, quite a large story. That's the full story, but there you go. Melton Times, in the end, decided to actually run it. So this is the guy here. And that was our ex-MP. So there you go. Quite an interesting read. If you go back to my short, there's loads of evidence there that I've compiled together and put in a sequence so you can read through it. Just pause the video, you'll be able to read what's there and then continue from there. This has been Street Switch Photography. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Go and hit the notification bell. We've got a couple of messages, one from Deadpool and one from Robin. We've got that's mental, mate. Yeah, it is. Have you seen the MI5 update? No, I haven't. I will go and take a look and probably do an update very shortly. Thank you for that information, Robin. Much appreciated. And thank you for watching my channel. I do appreciate each and every single person that supports this channel and what it is I'm trying to achieve. My reading has got to get better. I understand that. I don't usually do the reading. I just put it up on the screen and hope that everybody else can read it. Obviously, my dyslexia and ADHD are combined and it's quite difficult sometimes, but I get through it. So there you go. This has been Street Switch Photography. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Go and hit the notification bell. And I'll hopefully see you in an update very soon. Bye for now.
Street Switch Photography.
Traitors.